Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. We are at the start of yet another Hubleto Dev Academy session. Welcome to our YouTube channel and hope you are enjoying this super summer we are currently having. Hope you have air condition or something really cold near you because it's really scorching out there. So, welcome everyone. This is Hubleto Dev Academy lesson number 7. We'll be talking about Hubleto and its React UI basics. Uh, let's move forward. As usual, this session will be recorded since you can see it later on as a YouTube recording. So feel free to, if you miss anything, you can always check back. We have our main mode of operation is check discussions via our YouTube chat. So if you have a question or you like to point out anything, or if you had some interesting point to say, feel free to write to the YouTube chat, and I will be checking the chat regularly. And if I see something interesting, I will point it out and we'll be discussing it. As usual, I'm the moderator. My name is Marcel, but I'm not here alone. As usual, there are Eric and Richard with me. You will be hearing from them very soon. Let's move forward. So this is lesson number 7 of Hubleto Dev Academy presented by Hubleto. And today, as I mentioned, we have React UI basics. So welcome to our webinar and hope you will enjoy it. We'll have a really quick recap where we'll be discussing and mentioning what was previous webinar and series of webinars about. Then we will move forwards to our experts and their input. So there'll be plenty of interesting examples and real-life scenarios that will help you understand how Hubleto works with React. And of course, if you have some spare time, which we'll surely have, we'll have a Q&A session with discussions about what to do next. So I hope you will like it. How to prepare your recap or how to see some previous sessions, feel free to look at our 2 main data storages for you that are free to access and free for everyone. It's our video archive, which is on the wai-blue channel, and there you can see all our previous videos and some snippets of another videos and some quick how-to sessions and tutorials and similar stuff. So plenty of videos there. And also feel free to check out Developers Guide, which is constantly growing, and we are moving with more lessons there and more. So feel free to check the webpage developer.hubleto.eu for more info about that. There are plenty of learning materials there as well. So feel free to check these materials. And I believe that this is everything for our little start. And I believe that Richard will be joining me right now, and we'll have some info about React. So feel free to join us.
Give me a moment, please, to set myself up.
I will be having a nice cup of water, cold water, in the meantime, because this is really necessary in current time and age.
All right.
Okay, we can see your screen, so everything works well.
Great.
So
great.
Feel free to start.
So hello, my name is Richard, and today I will be talking about React UI. The main points of these lessons are going to be about what exactly is React UI, how to use React UI in your project, and also how you can create your own React components. React UI is our own package or a library of React components you can use in your project to visualize data, change data, or create new processes in Hubleto. ReactUi offers an easy and fast way to visualize data using pre-made tables and forms. And it also includes a way for us to modify, say, tables and forms to our needs. With ReactUi, you will mostly meet these types of components. Firstly, tables. They primarily serve as a data visualization component, so we can see all the records that a model has. Using table components, we can also set up how we want to order the records and how we want to filter them. Using filters and toggles that we define ourselves. The table component also offers customization in the form of changing how the data looks in the table or in a column. But I will get to the example for this later. Forms are another component that we will use for data visualization, but also mainly for data manipulation. Forms are the easiest to modify and customize in terms of how they look, how the data is placed in a layout of the form, and what we can do with the data by adding more functionality inside the form. And lastly, we have other components that we can use, like modals, warning pop-ups, but most importantly, input components. We offer many input components that are for simple data, like text and numbers, but also for something like tags or for HTML previewing. So the standard way of data visualization in Hubleto is this short workflow. We first create a table from which we can open a record. This opens a form that we have created, and in that form we can use inputs that have different visuals depending on the type of the input. As I mentioned before, we can customize the table and form components to our needs. One example of how we use the table customization was to change how a column customization table is rendered. As you can see, we completely remade how a regular table looks and also how it functions. In the form, we modify how the content in the form looks too. We created a completely new functionality that lets you preview, print, and generate an invoice. That's on the example on the right. So next up, how do we actually use ReactUi? Well, there are two ways of how to visualize the data, and the first one is through using the default components and default components. Using default components offers a much quicker and easier way to visualize data. But it also has only a few customization options. For example, we can only choose UI elements that the table will see, like the search bar, and which filters can be applied, but that's pretty much it. The form also has a few customization options, and it will show data and the inputs in a very simple way. The other way is by creating your own components. You can customize the form and table components to your needs, like I have shown before. This way requires a bit of setup, but it pays off later when you will have what the form or the table will have. When the table or form will have what you need it to look and need it to do. Other apps can also inject functionality to your own form, like in the pointed app-based injection. For example, one way of the app injecting its own functionality into another form, for example, is by adding a button that will, for example, generate a report or something like that. So this is how we can add the table to our view, or this is basically how we show the table inside Hubleto. We use a custom HTML tag inside the twig file for our desired view. On the left, we can see a quick way to show your data. We use the default Hubleto React table tag. The only thing we need to do is to pass the model string as a prop in the HTML tag, so that the table knows which model to use and what records to show. And on the right, we can see an example of our custom table and what props it needs, which I will get to now. So how do we actually create this tag for this custom table? Well, to make development easier, we can use Hubleto CLI to create required components for our app and model. We can use the command create in embed MVC and inputting the app's namespace and the model's name to create a table component and a form component automatically. This creates the necessary setup for the table and the form component to work. If we want, we can modify these components like I shown you before. And while the CLI did this already, we also need to register the table in the loader tsx file, so the HTML tag is available for us to use. By registering the table, it will also generate a tag name automatically based on the registered name. Like we see in the picture, we have deals, stable deals. So the registering the component made the new tag called Hubleto React deals, stable deals 2. All that is left for us to do is insert the tag to the desired view and configure the props like we see on the picture on the right. For the props, these are the props that we can use. These are the most useful ones that we can use. Otherwise, you can also pass your own props that you will need for your own needs. So, for example, like I mentioned before, the model string that basically for the default table component, that for it to load the right data, or we can also input what filters what we can use, and yeah, these are the props that will be most useful to you. And lastly, a small announcement. Hubleto is now moving ReactUi from class components to function components. So while we still show you the version 1 of ReactUi, we are also working on new ReactUi that will use these function components. So that is it for me, basically, and I will pass the word to Eric, and he will show you a practical example of how you can create your own components.
Thank you, Richard. Eric, feel free to prepare your presentation. In the meantime, I will check our chat if there's something interesting. We have some guys saying hello to you as well. Hope you enjoyed the live stream so far. And now we are moving towards the most interesting part, the coding. Yes. Do not forget, Eric, to feel free to zoom in if necessary, as usual. Okay, now it's your time to shine.
Right, so hello, my name is Eric, and today I will be going through the practical side of explaining how ReactUi works in Hubleto. So we've already seen how Hubleto registers React components and places them into a twig view. So I'll continue with the more practical side and customize a app which you guys already might be familiar with. It's the Carental app, but I'll be starting from a scaffold again, and I'll customize the entire interface. By the end of the demonstration, the table will have a customized record form, a wider model, so it will change its look, a title based on actual record data, and a real working filter that is able to filter cars by their brand. So just to remind you guys what we're working with currently, and this is the Carental app. In here we have cars. As you can see, here is a table, and the database is already populated with multiple entries. We have a brand of a car, model of a car, and its color. As you can see, this is the table, and this is the form, and how it looks in its current state. So to jump into the code, I would first like to start with table cars. So in here, I would like to highlight the first part. This is essentially the application-specific table component. The important point is that table cars extends table extended, as you can see here. So this means that it does not rebuild the sorting, searching, pagination, row selection, record loading, and so on from scratch. Those generic capabilities are inherited from ReactUi. So this class will only contain decisions that are specific to cars and the car app. In here, as you can see, spreading the table extended default props. This way we preserve the standard behavior of the parent component, and we only override the properties needed by this application. So like let's for example, form use model set to true. This tells the table to open its record form in a model. And the model defines the PHP model used by the record API. So this way we essentially connect the React table to the car model on the server. Next, just a quick highlight. In here we have these interfaces. So for our purposes, these local state interfaces, they extend the types supplied by table extended. They're currently empty. Right now, this table does not need any additional application-specific state, but they give us a safe extension point if we later introduce a new property or a state value. Next, I would like to show where the table is actually connected to the form. So this happens in here, in the render form method. So a generic table can load a record, but it cannot know which application-specific form should render that record, right? So this method supplies the missing connection and essentially get form props, collects the current record ID, model, the callbacks, permissions, and the model state from the table. And then the spread operator passes that complete object to form car without actually manually forwarding every property. So this way we actually know which form will render data of which table. So let's start with actually coding a wider form model. So let's say in our case it's not really necessary, but in your case it may be, where the form is actually thin and you might need it to be a slightly bit wider. To do that, what you actually want to do is in the table cars or in your component above the render form method, what you would usually do is create a method called getFormModelProps. So what this method does is in here we begin with the parent implementation. So we are not actually constructing a new model configuration. That's important because the parent may already provide callbacks, dimension states, or future defaults that the table needs. In here, we actually specify we change the one application specific setting, which in our case is the type of the form. So this means that the model should be attached to the right side and use the white layout. This is, as you can see here, a typical ReactUi customization pattern. So we inherit the standard configuration and modify only the smallest necessary part and return it. So just to see how it works, what we will do is rebuild the front end. After the front end is rebuilt, we'll check if the form is actually wider and sticks to the right side as it should. Right. Let me go back into currental. And as you can see, once I open the form, it is on the right side and it is quite a bit wider. So this gives us, for example, more space to work with if we wanted to place even more inputs inside and maybe create a different layout within the form. So now what I'll show you guys how to do is how to configure the table through DescriptionAPI. So to do that, you actually hop into the model. So in our case, it's the car.php. And in here, the important part is the describe table. So we've just changed the behavior in the custom React component, but Hubleto gives us a second customization level called DescriptionAPI, which Richard will talk about. It allows the model to describe standard table and form behavior without creating a new React-based implementation for every single small configuration change, right? So a describe table might look something like this, where in this case, what actually happens is just as we use super in the TypeScript, we begin with the parent description, right? So once again, the standard pattern. The parent generates the standard description from the model, including the columns, the default UI behavior, and we then modify that existing description. So we are not essentially replacing it completely. In here, as you can see, there are two UI assignments. These values are the user-facing metadata. They define the table title and the button label, or the text that's shown on the add button. As you can see, the text passes through translate in here. So doing it this way, the same description can participate in Hubleto localization for your translations. And then we have show and hide in here. The show and hide methods control the standard ReactUi table areas. So just to repeat, we are not manually rendering a search box or an action menu in type TSX. We are describing which built-in features should be visible, right? So which to be shown, which to be hidden. So just to demonstrate, after refreshing the page, as you can see, there is the title, which is cars, might be a bit unnecessary, but proves the point, and the button is now named add car, and this is how the form looks so far. So next, what you might find is that having multiple brands might be a bit confusing in a single table. So what you would do to sort out this issue is actually implement a filter So let's implement a filter that filters out cars by their respective brand. To do that, in the describe table, what you would do is write a snippet of code that looks something like this. So what happens in here? First we ask the existing car record manager for the distinct brand values that are already present in the database, right? So we get the record. This prevents us essentially from hard coding brands into the user interface. It means that the filter option automatically follows the actual data of the fleet of the cars we are storing. In here, the empty brand values are ignored, and each valid brand becomes both the option key sent by the table and the user-facing label displayed in the filter. So just to highlight in here, in the add filter, in here we essentially register the control on the identifier F brand. The identifier is important. It's the same key that will be read by the record manager, which I'll show you in a while. Essentially, the description API now knows how to draw the filter, but we still need to give the selected value a meaning. So what we'll do next is pass the filter state through a twig. So what we'll do is open cars.twig, which represents the view of the cars. And what we're going to do is make sure that that it contains the property for our filters right here. So my colleague has already explained that what these typed twig attributes mean. So let's connect the theory to this example. View params, the filter essentially contains the filter state parsed from the current request. JSON encode serializes the PHP array into a JSON, and then the prefix converts it back to JavaScript value for the React component. So essentially now we allow the table to initialize itself from the URL instead of always forgetting the active filter. So this will, for example, allow us to preserve the filter we want even after refreshing the web page. So to actually apply the filter to the query, we'll be moving forward to the record manager. And in here, the important part is the prepare it query. In here, what you might want to is to paste or write a snippet of code that looks something like this. Essentially, what happens in here is the record manager reads the same filter collection that was passed through the URL, and we then check the exact F brand, which I already mentioned, identifier, which we registered with the description API. Essentially, when the brand is selected, this condition adds a standard SQL restriction to the car query. In here, the table therefore receives only matching records from the API. So to demonstrate how this works, let's refresh the page, go back to the app. Let's refresh the page. The database might not be working, so I apologize for that. Let me very quickly double check if everything was done correctly. Yeah, you might be right actually. So we are in the describe table. And in here, right, it was misplaced by a column. So what you want to do is actually place the filter code before returning the description. Right, so this was the issue. Now let me refresh the app. Right, and here we go. So as you can see, these little mishaps might happen. It was simple closing bracket. And right now what we have here is a working filter for the brands. As you can see, we can sort the brand by BMW, Skoda, Toyota, Volkswagen, essentially all the filters. Clicking it once again clears the filter from the URL, as you can see in here, and shows us the entire table once again. So this can be especially useful if you have many different identifiers for your data you might want to be filtering by. So next, I would like to show how to actually customize the form with live record data. So it's simple stuff, but it actually makes a difference when you're storing a lot of data and need to navigate quickly through the table. So to do that, I'll be opening a form car component. And in here, I'll once again highlight this part, which essentially shows that the form follows the same extension pattern as the table, right? It inherits the record loading, saving, validation, permissions, and input rendering from form extended. And we only add present stuff that is meaningful for a car. So to do that, to actually maybe showcase what brand and car we're working with when we click a record, we might want to customize the render title method. So you might want to do something like this. It's very simple stuff, but it's essentially in here we we load the current record by the inherited form workflow and assign it to R, for example. The available properties correspond to fields defined by the car model. So here we use the ID and the brand and the model. In here, we simply combine the brand and the model in the display name. And then in this part, we essentially make sure that an existing record has a positive ID, so it's a real brand, and the model essentially becomes the title. A new unsaved record, for example, will have no persistent ID yet, and the user will see the new car instead of an empty heading, right? So that's what we do here. Just to show you guys, I'll rebuild the front end once again. So it's rebuilt. Let me refresh the app. And as you can see, clicking the form, now we have the brand and the name combined within our form at the top. So, which is pretty useful. Next, I would like to show where the standard form fields actually come from. So if we return to the model, I would like to highlight this existing code, which you may already have if you are following our car rental app and the entire way we did the app. So in here, we essentially, these columns descriptions are not only the database information, but ReactUi actually also uses them to choose input labels, validation behavior, table columns, as you have seen previously. This is why, for example, one model description can support both the standard table and the standard form. while TSXM remains focused on genuinely just custom presentation, which you may or may not want to have in your project. So just to summarize, the final result from the user's perspective, what we actually achieved, we managed to change the add button and what it says. We have managed to add a title with, once you click the form, we have customized the form for it to be wider to showcase the record of which the car, which we're looking at currently, and we've managed to add a functional filter, as you can see in the URL, that manages to filter cars by their respective brand. So the main principle I would take away from this example is, and my recommendation is to always start with the standard Hubleto component and customize at the appropriate level. So if a title, filter, column, or a built-in table area can be described through the description API, then configure it there. If the application, on the other hand, needs custom interaction or record-specific rendering, extend the RecordUi component and configure it there. These layers are designed to cooperate with each other, so we can build a specialized interface without rebuilding the crude foundation. And I think that completes the practical part on my side. I'm now handing back the word to Marcel. We might have some time for questions, so feel free to ask.
Thank you, exactly. Thank you, Eric, for your another mighty coding presentation. It was really nice to see everything working. Just give me a second to share the screen once again. Okay, we should probably see in the screen right now. Okay. Okay, so let's move towards the final screen as usual. Now it's your time to share the questions, share your ideas in our Q&A session. So feel free to write anything to the live chat. I'm monitoring it here right now. I know that we have some regulars here, or maybe some new viewers as well. So feel free to write anything if you have regarding this topic. And in the meantime, I would like to point out that do not forget to connect with us either through our GitHub, or follow us on Reddit, or you can follow us on LinkedIn, or you can follow us directly on the YouTube as well. So feel free to present your questions and ideas, and I will give you some time to write them, as usually. And in the meantime, I will be also pointing out that our Hubleto Dev Academy is bi-monthly. So we'll be seeing each other in a 2 weeks time at the same time and the same place at 2:30 p.m. on the Wednesday on our YouTube channel, on our live stream. So feel free to meet with us again. And the next session will be on Wednesday, 8th of August. Hopefully the weather will be more pleasant for us, for us office dwellers. So hopefully we'll be able to work and breathe regularly. Okay, so let me check the live chat. For the time being, we do not have another question, but let's wait a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit about next lesson. We'll be discussing models, record managers, and migrations. So pretty interesting stuff. We still do not. We are still open to these lessons, and we are still open about how we will be preparing it. So there'll be plenty of working from our side as well. Yeah, okay, let me check the. It looks like that we have a question in the chat. In the chat. Okay, there is a question from Michael. Hi, I wanted to ask if it is possible to use custom React.js libraries and how that works then. Okay, good question, valid questions. Feel free to ask either Richard or Eric. I guess Richard will be happy to answer this. Okay.
In terms of custom, I think you can you can definitely import your custom React or JS libraries if you want. I don't know if you mean something else or like React packages or JS packages, or can you specify a bit more?
So let's give Michael some time to read his question a little bit more. So feel free to give us more info about custom libraries. Okay. Let's wait a little bit more. Maybe there's another question if it's actually possible or a good point to even try using custom. Okay, okay. So Michael is mentioned that both will be useful. So either that or both ways. So feel free to give us more info about custom libraries.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
and there's
actually,
and
Hubleto does not only restrict you from only using React UI components, right? You can actually install and import normal NPM packages inside our custom React components. And then the Webpack actually automatically includes them during the front-end build, right? So when you write npm run build, they'll be included. Just make sure that the final component is registered with Hubleto. Essentially, React UI is recommended for standard Hubleto tables and forms and inputs because it provides consistent integration. But specialized libraries for charts, for example, or graphs or maps, editors, or any other widget can be used normally. Just make sure to double check the React version compatibility, and maybe if I was you, I would avoid libraries that actually sometimes bundle their own second React instance. I know that sometimes happens, so you might run into issues there.
okay. Thank you for the input, Eric. Okay, hope we have answered all the questions from Michael. Hope you liked the answers. Feel free to write something more as well. Okay, so
I wanted to add that also
sure.
it should be pointed out that some npm packages can also use React with functional components, and this is currently the issue for React UI 1.0 because React UI 1.0 uses class-based components. So it can be sometimes an issue importing your own React packages that use functional components. But as we mentioned, we are converting React UI to function components, so we can modernize and be more compatible with other packages.
Okay. Thanks for the adding to this topic. Okay, Michael is happy, so we are happy that at least one of our viewers is happy with our question Q&A session, but maybe there are a few more questions waiting for us, so let's wait a little bit more. But I believe that let's give it 2 minutes more, and then we'll be having closing remarks on today's session because already it's a little bit late in the afternoon, and we do not like to stretch this session way too much. So feel free to write us once more, and we'll wait a little bit more and get back to you in a moment. So that was questions from Michael, but nothing additional as so far, but we'll like wait a little bit more. Hope you like our intro to the React UI. Or if feel free to share something that you like to see in the upcoming lessons. If you like some topic that you like to discuss with us, so feel free to write it, or not just here in the live chat, or also in the comments after the video will be closed. We're also monitoring our YouTube channel furiously, so if you have some questions or ideas, feel free to write it down. We'll get back to you. Also, don't forget to check out developer hubleto.eu site with new lessons and materials regarding our developer academy. Okay, I believe that if there will be another questions, it will be written by now. So I believe that it's time to say goodbye on this session, and hope we will see each other in the 2 weeks time. So we will hope you will like this today's session, and hope you enjoy the rest of the week. And so see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.